What's going on, guys? Bart here with Tully Television, and I want to welcome you all to another episode here. Today, we're going to be getting into The Last of Us episode 4. But before we do, I want to thank you for stopping by, liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing. If you have yet to subscribe, I hope that today is the day that I earn that subscription. If so, you hit that red subscribe bar down below, hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode of Tully Television here. And without further ado, let's get into The Last of Us episode 4 entitled Please Hold My Hand. Written by Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin, directed by Jeremy Webb. Again, Pedro Pascal as Joel, Bella Ramsey as Ella, Melanie Linsky as a new character by the name of Kathleen, Jeffrey Pierce as Perry, Johnson as Henry, and Kevon Woodward as Sam. Uh, Henry and Sam are two brothers on the run. Perry is Kathleen's right hand man, and we've already been introduced to Joel and Ellie. Um, we find our duo making their way across the country to get to Wyoming, where Joel believes his brother and the Fireflies are at, to drop off Ellie and again retrieve his brother. As they make their way to, I believe, Kansas City, while on the highway, they come across a blockage, and that's kind of where we run into trouble. But before that, we see Ellie trying to make a connection with Joel. You can tell even though she tries to put on a front, she's very scared, very wanting to be comforted by somebody to know that things are going to be okay. Um, in the beginning, when they're in Bill's truck, and starting their journey, Ellie's in the back and she happens to come across Hank Williams tape as she did in the game. Asked Joel if he was feeling nostalgic, and he explains, "Well, this was even before my time, but it's a winner anyway." And they listen to some Hank Williams on the way, and then she happens to find one of Bill's nudie magazines in the back of the truck, and uh, Joel realizes what it is, and he tries to take it from her, but she's like, "No, no, no! I want to see what all the fuss is about." And she's like, "Oh my god, how you guys walk around with that or whatever?" And uh, she messes with him, and she's like, "Why are the pages so sticky?" And he's like, "I'm not answering that." And she's like, I know," and like kind of tosses it towards him or whatever like that. And so she has a little chuckle about that, and then at one point, this episode is a little bit more slower paced and more relationship building between Ellie and Joel, which is fine. You're gonna need these episodes in between, especially if you're doing like a 9 or 10 episode run. Not all of them are going to be banger, banger, banger. At one point it's going to be filler or episode that's slowing the pace down. And this episode certainly um, slowed the pace down. At one point they're camping, and uh, I heard someone say it was like a commercial for Chef Boyardee because she's like, "Oh, what is this?" And Joel's like, "This is Chef Boyardee ravioli. Stays good even after 20 years of apocalyptic behavior." And they're just like, and She does not like the smell of coffee, I guess, because this was the first time she came across someone making coffee. Uh, Joe must be a rich man in the apocalypse if he's percolating coffee. He must have a lot of what do you call it, ration cards. Uh, Goddamn, if we're gonna live in the apocalypse, I need a cup of coffee, okay? Uh, um, but it's funny because again, most kids that age are gonna not really. I thought coffee was like kind of nasty or whatever, or like too strong smelling or whatever when I was a teenager. But now I definitely need my cup of Joe in the mornings. Speaking of which, ah, the best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup. Folgers, come sponsor us. um, but I digress. I digress. So they bond over eating ravioli from Chef Boyardee that lasts for 2 decades. And at one point, she's like, there's no one, because all right. Joel happens to mention that, yes, there's no infected around here, but we have to still be careful. That's why he didn't want her starting the fire like a bonfire or like a campfire. And she initially thought it was due to the infected, but realizing that people are roaming the countryside still after all these years. And uh, he said they'll do more than just kill us, you know, and believe that, he knows what type of men are out there. And they come across a young lady and they take Joel out, forget about. It's going to be a long day for Ellie, put it that way. Um, but she falls asleep being comforted, again, being comforted by Joel, thinking everything is fine. He was like, oh, no one's going to come after us. But as we see she falls asleep, we see that one of the more infamous images from the game, and it's of, him being filmed from the back, holding the gun, on watch, looking into the woods. And then that's when they start their trip down the highway and get stuck in Kansas City. Um, they have a little discrepancy because of Ellie's map reading, but she's like, dude, this is my second day in a car. Forget about map reading. What? Uh, so the way that Joel thinks he's going to be able to get around the blockade in the highway is to go around into the next rampway, but they come across someone who's yelling for help, and Ellie's like, "We're not going to help him," and Joel's like, "Nope," and he runs right into him, and sure then flies to Honey. It was an ambush. They were able to finagle out of there with getting confronted by a few people. At one point, Joel was able to take out two people, but got um, back attacked by a third person, causing Ellie, who at this point did have a gun on her, um, to take it out, come out of hiding, and shoot the man from behind. Uh, she initially thought she had him, but it winded up that it's a different story now when you gotta look a man in the eye and uh, with the threat gone, still have to finish it off, so to speak. And of course, that no one's really wanting to do that. Why does that look different? Sorry, I'm being distracted. Being totally distracted. Sorry, but Joel takes the gun away from her, tells her to go back in hiding, and he finishes the guy off with a knife to avoid any more loud noises to be heard. They're able to escape through a back entrance and stuff, and they got into talking a little bit about how he's sorry that he couldn't fight the guy off in time, and that she had to do that, which I would feel bad. My son's about the same age as Ellie now, and if it was an apocalypse, I would be happy that he did that in a way because I don't want to go out like that in front of him. But I would feel bad that he had to do that for me, not because I would be embarrassed about my son helping me, but because he's 14 and I wouldn't want him to have to carry that on him so young. Uh, you know, so there's always that take on it, so I can relate to that a little bit more on my end. And she's like, it's okay. It's not the first time I had it, hurt somebody like a person and not an infected person. And he leaves it be because, it is an overwhelming situation. They continue to go on about their way until they finally, settle in this like office building skyscraper type of thing. Um, Before I get into how that part of the story ends, I want to talk about this new character that they created for the show called Kathleen, um, played by again Melanie Melania Melanie Linsky. Um, she seems to run this group, the Hunters, that attacked Joel and Ellie. But as we are introduced to her, she's interrogating the doctor who had birthed her as a child, as a baby, meaning that they're establishing that he knew her all of her life, and she's holding a gun to him, asking him why she would turn in her brother and stuff like that, turn in the people that trusted him, and said that that he had a gun to his head. What did you want me to do? These were crazy times. And basically, it was the equivalent of FEMA taking over the area and doing experiments, just trying to take over by bullying. And we find out that her brother was beaten to death by these people at his he wasn't even really, doing anything about it or anything like that. So she's like, oh, now it needs to stop right when I have the gun to you, but when they had the gun to my brother, there was no stopping then. You watched them. And she wants to know where these two boys are at, okay, these two brothers. The two brothers being Henry and Sam. Now, if you're familiar with the game, you know how these two characters the path that these two characters take during the game, but we're going to see if they change that up in here in the series because they're seeming to change some things, drastically from the game to the show. At one point, Perry, her right hand man, comes back with the bodies that Joel took out, and she's now convinced that the doctor called these guys in to uh, be mercenaries for the doctor to take out Kathleen and the Hunters, and that's not even the case. It's just Joel and Ellie. But she's using this distraction for a power grab of some sorts, and she goes back in and kills the doctor. Um, and that's kind of the last we see of her. You can already tell that she's an irrational leader. She's uh, basing her decisions off of emotion, off of rage, off of revenge instead of what's best for her group. Um, we're gonna see how the hunters and Joel wind up clashing or not clashing, or however it is they go about that path of the story. We finally end with Joel and Ellie getting ready to lay down for the night in this office building. Joel had laid glass all around so he could hear people walking on it if anyone came in. Throughout the episode, Ellie has been using this pun joke book, to try to try to make Joel crack up, try to make him laugh. And the couple of jokes were uh, not landing until finally she turns around and she's like, Joel. It was something to the degree of, Joel, you know why you have diarrhea? And he turns and he's like, what? She's like, because it runs in your genes. I'm cracking myself up. Stop. I'm a very immature person myself when it comes to number two jokes. Number two jokes are always number one in my book. um, but he cracks up. They both start cracking up because Ellie feels like she finally got him. You finally got that one tough old buzzard to laugh, to crack a smile. And they drift off to sleep. And then Ellie wakes up Joel, and he notices that they're being held by gunpoint by Henry and Sam here. And that's where the episode ends. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see if they team up, not team up, how that all plans out compared to the game. And that's it. I want to thank you all for stopping by, like and comment and share, and let me know what your favorite part of the episode was. And yeah, peace, Lippins.